Have you ever wondered what it means to be truly happy? Is happiness the absence of suffering? Or is it something deeper, something that transcends the ups and downs of everyday life? In this final chapter of our journey through the foundations of Buddhism, we'll uncover the timeless wisdom of Buddhist teachings on happiness, suffering, and the path to peace. This is where everything we've learned comes together, illuminating the answer to one of life's most profound questions: how can we find lasting happiness? Before we dive into today's exploration, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we've shared so far. Over the past 7 videos, we've traveled through the rich and diverse landscape of Buddhist wisdom. First, in the opening video, we laid the groundwork by exploring the origins of Buddhism and the cultural and historical context that shaped its teachings. Second, we followed the life story of Siddhartha Gautama, the prince who left everything behind to seek enlightenment and became the Buddha. Third, we uncovered the heart of Buddhist philosophy, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. This practical guide helps us understand and overcome suffering. We then traced Buddhism's spread across the globe, learning how it evolved into different schools and traditions while maintaining its essence. In the 5th video, we explored how Buddhist values remain profoundly relevant in modern life, offering tools for mindfulness, compassion, and inner peace. Next, we tackled a fascinating question: is Buddhism a religion or a philosophy? By understanding its unique nature, we saw how Buddhism transcends labels, emerging as a path of wisdom and liberation. Finally, in the 7th video, we delved into the diversity of Buddhist traditions. We explored the similarities and differences among Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Through this, we discovered how these schools complement one another, creating the rich tapestry of Buddhism. Now, as we come to the conclusion of this series, we turn to a question at the very heart of the human experience: how can we transform suffering into happiness? This video will take you beyond theory and philosophy. It will offer practical insights you can apply in your daily life. Together, we will explore how Buddhist teachings guide us to embrace suffering, cultivate peace, and find true happiness, not in fleeting pleasures, but in lasting inner freedom. Let's begin. Understanding happiness through the Buddhist perspective. Happiness is a universal desire. But what does it truly mean to be happy? In Buddhism, happiness is not simply the absence of suffering, nor is it the fleeting pleasure we derive from material possessions. Instead, it is a profound sense of peace and freedom that arises from understanding and transforming the nature of our minds. At the heart of Buddhist teachings lies a simple but powerful truth: suffering, or dukkha, is an inherent part of life. This does not mean life is only filled with pain. Rather, it reminds us that dissatisfaction, impermanence, and the inevitability of change are woven into the human experience. Understanding this truth is the first step toward finding genuine happiness. In Buddhism, the roots of suffering are identified as craving, aversion, and ignorance. These mental states keep us trapped in cycles of frustration and dissatisfaction. But here lies the beauty of Buddhist wisdom. By recognizing these patterns and cultivating the opposite qualities, contentment, kindness, and insight, we can break free. True happiness, according to Buddhist teachings, is not dependent on external conditions. It comes from within. It is the result of a clear mind, a compassionate heart, and a life guided by wisdom. When we stop seeking happiness outside of ourselves and instead turn inward, we discover a source of peace that no external circumstance can shake. To better understand this perspective, let us reflect on the Buddhist teaching: peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. This profound statement challenges us to shift our focus from chasing temporary pleasures to cultivating the qualities that lead to lasting well-being. In this section, we'll explore how Buddhism redefines happiness. We'll see that it is not about avoiding challenges, but about transforming how we relate to them. By embracing suffering with mindfulness and compassion, we unlock the path to true joy. Now, let us delve deeper. into how the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path provide a clear roadmap for navigating life's difficulties and finding peace in the process. The Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, a roadmap to inner peace. To truly understand how Buddhism guides us toward happiness, we must return to its core teachings, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. These foundational principles are not abstract ideas. They are practical tools that help us navigate life's challenges with clarity and wisdom. The Four Noble Truths begin with a simple acknowledgement. Life involves suffering. This suffering, or dukkha, manifests in many forms: physical pain, emotional dissatisfaction, or the constant yearning for something more. The Buddha taught that understanding suffering is not about dwelling on negativity. It is about facing reality with courage and honesty. The second truth reveals the cause of suffering: craving and attachment. Whether it is the desire for pleasure, the fear of losing what we cherish, or the illusion of permanence, these attachments create cycles of dissatisfaction. But the Buddha didn't stop at identifying the problem. He offered a solution. The third truth declares that liberation from suffering is possible. This is the promise of nirvana, a state of freedom, peace, and profound happiness that comes from letting go of attachment and aversion. It is a reminder that suffering is not a permanent condition, but a challenge that can be overcome. The fourth truth provides the method to achieve this liberation: the Eightfold Path, often described as the middle way. This path offers a balanced approach to life, avoiding both indulgence and denial. It is divided into three key areas: wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. Wisdom begins with right view and right intention. These guide us to see life clearly and set meaningful goals based on compassion and understanding. Ethical conduct includes right speech, right action, and right livelihood. These encourage us to live in harmony with others through honesty, kindness, and integrity. Mental discipline is cultivated through right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These help us develop a calm and focused mind that is resilient in the face of challenges. Together, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path form a complete system for transforming suffering into peace. They remind us that happiness is not a destination, but a journey, a process of growth, learning, and self-discovery. As we move forward, we will explore how embracing suffering as part of life is not a burden but an opportunity. Through the wisdom of Buddhist teachings, we can learn to turn even the most difficult experiences into stepping stones toward true happiness. Embracing suffering as a part of happiness, it might seem counterintuitive at first, but one of the most profound teachings of Buddhism is that suffering is not the enemy of happiness. It is a part of it. By embracing suffering with mindfulness and compassion, we can transform it into an opportunity for growth, resilience, and deeper joy in life. Challenges are inevitable. Loss, disappointment, and change are experiences that touch us all. Instead of avoiding or resisting them, Buddhism encourages us to face these difficulties with an open heart. The key lies in understanding the nature of suffering and seeing it as a teacher rather than a foe. The Buddha shared a powerful analogy to illustrate this idea. Suffering is like being struck by two arrows. The first arrow is the inevitable pain of life, things we cannot control, such as illness or the loss of a loved one. The second arrow, however, is the suffering we add through our reactions: anger, fear, denial, or attachment. While the first arrow is unavoidable, the second arrow is within our power to manage. Through mindfulness, we learn to pause and observe our reactions, breaking free from the cycle of habitual responses. This practice allows us to approach suffering with curiosity and acceptance, rather than judgment or resistance. Over time, this shift in perspective helps us develop a sense of peace. Even in the midst of difficulty, compassion also plays a crucial role. When we extend kindness to ourselves and others during times of suffering, we soften the edges of pain. Compassion reminds us of our shared humanity and connects us to something greater than ourselves. It transforms suffering from a source of isolation into a bridge that fosters understanding and empathy. An inspiring example comes from the Buddha's own life. When he encountered a grieving mother who had lost her child, she begged him to bring her child back to life. Instead of rejecting her pain, the Buddha gently guided her to find solace. He asked her to collect mustard seeds from households untouched by death. As she went from home to home, she realized that suffering is universal. This understanding brought her peace. Buddhism teaches that happiness is not found by avoiding suffering, but by embracing it with wisdom and compassion. When we stop running from pain and start working with it, we discover a deeper, more enduring sense of joy. Next, we'll explore the practical tools Buddhism provides to help us transform suffering into happiness, from meditation to mindfulness, and the cultivation of compassion. These practices offer a clear and powerful way to navigate life's challenges with grace and peace. Practical tools for finding happiness in modern life. In today's fast-paced world, finding happiness can feel like an uphill battle. We face constant distractions, pressures, and uncertainties that make it easy to lose touch with ourselves. Yet, the timeless wisdom of Buddhism offers practical tools to help us navigate these challenges and rediscover peace and joy, no matter our circumstances. One of the most powerful tools is meditation, a practice that allows us to step away from the chaos of daily life and connect with the present moment. Through meditation, we cultivate mindfulness, the ability to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. This simple practice creates space for clarity and calm, helping us respond to life's difficulties with wisdom rather than reactivity. Another transformative practice is compassion, which Buddhism teaches as a central path to happiness. By opening our hearts to others, we not only ease their suffering, but also dissolve the barriers of isolation and fear within ourselves. Acts of kindness, whether small or large, have a ripple effect, creating positive energy that touches everyone around us, including ourselves. Mindfulness, an essential aspect of Buddhist practice, is another valuable tool for modern life. Mindfulness invites us to be fully present in whatever we are doing, whether it's eating, working, or spending time with loved ones. By bringing awareness to each moment, we deepen our connection to life and find joy in even the simplest experiences. For example, instead of rushing through a meal, mindfulness encourages us to savor each bite. We appreciate the flavors, textures, and the effort that brought the food to our plate. This practice turns ordinary moments into opportunities for gratitude and contentment. Buddhism also emphasizes the importance of reflection, taking time to pause and examine our values, actions, and goals. In a world that often prioritizes material success, reflection helps us realign with what truly matters: relationships, personal growth, and inner peace. By living intentionally, we create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling. Finally, the teachings of non-attachment guide us to let go of the things that do not serve our well-being. This doesn't mean renouncing joy or pleasure, but rather freeing ourselves from the grip of clinging and fear. When we learn to flow with life's changes, we experience greater resilience and freedom. These tools are not abstract concepts. They are practices we can integrate into our everyday lives. Whether through a few minutes of meditation, a kind word to a stranger, or simply taking a mindful breath, each step brings us closer to the happiness we seek. Now, as we approach the conclusion of this journey, let us reflect on how these practices come together to create a life of enduring happiness. In the next section, we'll explore the deeper meaning of Buddhist happiness and its promise of lasting peace and freedom. The promise of Buddhist happiness, lasting peace and freedom. As we arrive at the conclusion of this journey, let us take a moment to reflect on the ultimate promise of Buddhist teachings, the attainment of lasting peace and freedom. This vision of happiness is not bound by fleeting pleasures or external circumstances. It is a profound state of inner liberation that transforms the way we experience life. At the heart of Buddhist happiness lies the understanding of impermanence. Everything in life is subject to change. Our possessions, relationships, even our emotions. While this truth can seem unsettling, it is also the key to freedom. By embracing impermanence, we let go of clinging and fear, opening ourselves to the flow of life with grace and acceptance. This happiness is not about avoiding pain, but transcending it. Through mindfulness and compassion, we learn to face suffering without being consumed by it. Rather than seeing challenges as obstacles, we view them as opportunities to grow and deepen our understanding. This shift in perspective allows us to experience joy that is rooted in wisdom, not in the fleeting highs of material success or external validation. The Buddha often described this happiness as nirvana, a state of peace that arises when the fires of craving, aversion, and ignorance are extinguished. Nirvana is not an abstract or distant goal. It is a possibility available to all of us, here and now. It begins with simple practices, cultivating mindfulness, acting with kindness, and seeking clarity in our thoughts and actions. One of the most inspiring aspects of Buddhist happiness is its inclusivity. It is not reserved for monks or scholars. It is accessible to anyone willing to walk the path. Whether you are seeking solace in times of hardship or looking to enrich the joys of daily life, the teachings of Buddhism provide guidance that meets you where you are. As we close this chapter, remember, happiness is not something you need to chase. It is something you already possess. The tools we've explored throughout this series, meditation, mindfulness, compassion, and the wisdom of the Four Noble Truths, are not destinations but pathways that lead you back to yourself. Each step you take brings you closer to the peace and freedom that are your true nature. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the foundations of Buddhism. May the teachings we've shared inspire you to live with greater mindfulness, compassion, and courage. And as you continue your path, may you find happiness that endures through all of life's changes. Until we meet again, may you walk in peace and light.